Hey, what's going on, guys? Aaron here. Welcome to the video. So in this video, I'm talking with Louis Dorngy. He's back on the station, and we are talking about everything FTX related. He's the founder of FTX Creditor, the largest claim buyer by number. But we're also talking about Celsius, what he thinks about Mashinsky, how he got 12 years, comparing that to Sam Bankman-Fried. We're also talking about MicroStrategy and how he thinks it's poison, and how he sees the end of MicroStrategy going. Also, similarities between Alex Mashinsky and Michael Saylor. Also, why he thinks companies should not be buying Bitcoin, his thoughts on the Silk Road and Ross Ulbricht, and then everything going on, of course, with FTX, including the current distributions, the future distributions, and what the FTX Recovery Trust currently has on its balance sheet. So guys, enjoy the convo with me and Louis. We cover a lot of topics, super fun to chat with him, and I hope you enjoy it too. Good thing your hair is always ready to go.
Yeah, my hair's always ready to run.
It wakes up and it's ready to be filmed. You lucky bastard.
Well, you just don't have any hairs though.
I know, mine's ready to go too. What do we want to talk about today? A little FTX?
I think we should talk a little bit about FTX. FTX, we stopped buying claims for a little while because basically FTX told us to stop. Because they were setting a record date. That record date was in April. That's all passed. And now, like 3 days ago, they basically updated who is getting the first distribution, how much this first distribution is, and people can check their step 9. So if people log in and go to claims.ftx.com, they go to step 9, and if their claim has been allowed for distribution, everything will be filled in there. This distribution is 72.5% of their claim value. It's just like Celsius. Face value at time of petition. You remember that sweet thing?
Yeah, I still have that in my head. So is this for convenience class, which is people that had a claim less than 50K and other claims?
No, so convenience class has already gotten paid out and they're getting 120.5. If you were in the convenience class and weren't allowed in the previous distribution, you might be allowed this time. And if you're still not allowed, I'm really sorry. You're going to have to wait till December or you can sell us your claim.
If someone's having an issue with their claim or they didn't get paid out, you're taking on that burden essentially and you're buying those claims.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's really funny, on my way to talking to you, I was reminded of this moment I had with Simon Dixon maybe a year ago when we were on a space just talking. I have a lot of respect and admiration for Simon Dixon. I think what he did with Celsius was really good for creditors. What Simon was saying is like, look, Louis has institutional money to buy claims. These institutions are not allowed to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin will outperform these claims. You're better off selling your claim to Louis and just buying Bitcoin. And he was 100% right. Look at where Bitcoin is today. 111K. And like we're up like maybe 28% on people's claims over a year and a bit, which is a lot for an institutional fund. It's less than the 120% that Bitcoin is up.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I was always saying was like, hey, if you think Bitcoin's going to go up really, really high, it makes sense to offload your claim to an institution and then buy the underlying crypto, whether that's Bitcoin, Solana, whatever you want.
I'm really impressed by where Bitcoin is today. I did not have this on the books, to be honest. I'm consistently wrong about that.
So did you think it was going to be a lot less?
No, but I thought we were going to go sideways for a long time. And a lot of the narratives of like, oh, FTX is going to distribute all this money and it's going to go back into Bitcoin didn't really happen because of, well, all the funds like mine who were buying claims, and it wasn't sure that those people would go back into Bitcoin. I also am incredibly bearish about all of these Bitcoin reserve companies. As you well know, I'm super bearish about that. I think long-term, super bad. MSTR is going to be poison later.
And now we're getting a bunch of MSTR copycats.
Grayscale Bitcoin Trust.
Yes. So you think that was part of the unwind and the collapse of the last bear market? Or the last?
Sure. That's what caused the last bear market. It was like a peppering of fraud. And that, I mean, if you lost money in Celsius, it was because of the Grayscale event. Really is the like major place where money was lost in Celsius. Plus the fraud. I mean, fraud is quite important, but like in FTX, it was less fraudy than Celsius. Money in the end wasn't like, it was misappropriated, but not embezzled. And I feel bad for Sam. In the end, like FTX victims are going to get like maybe 160 plus. Max they can get is 173.
Okay, that's the max. That level has been set. Okay.
Yeah. You know, over time, people will probably get towards that. I think, although this is going to be controversial, the lawyers and the managers of FTX today, like, are not loved by the victims, and I think that's fair in some senses, but also somewhat unfair because they have done a pretty good job of untangling this bankruptcy, and people are going to get ridiculous monster recoveries compared to Celsius, for instance. Like, if you compare the FTX bankruptcy to the Celsius bankruptcy, you are so much better off in FTX. Oh my God. I think in Bitcoin terms, in FTX, you are only going to get like 20%.
Okay.
But that's because Bitcoin ran so much more. The Celsius bankruptcy unwound itself much quicker than the FTX one.
That's a really good point, because we got our Bitcoin when it was in the 40,000 range.
Yeah, exactly.
So that alone changes everything.
So this was published by the bankruptcy estate, and it basically is like a bunch of disclaimers, which are interesting, but this is, what does FTX have as of March 31st? They have, and basically if you're holding on to your claim at this point, you are 99%, or that's wrong, probably 90% in a fixed income product. 85%. There's like 15% of it is variable, but everything else is just time value of money. So they've got 11.2 billion of cash, which is a lot of money. That basically means you're pretty certain of getting 100 cents on the dollar at this point. And then they have enough to pay you interest through these government receivables, which they haven't received yet, which is a bit worrying. Unfortunately, the government forced the sale of the 8% Sam had in Robinhood, which today would be worth like $5 billion. Crazy. He was a good investor. Unfortunately, basically, the estate sold down some of the best investments. So essentially, by holding on to your claim or by buying claims, what you're buying into is a fixed income product where you know more or less what you get in the end, and there could be some upside from the venture investments or some downside. I think it's more likely to be upside, and there's still 931 million of digital assets. We don't know what those are. In the disclosures, it does say that they're not shitcoins, but we don't know what they are. It's like 500 different tokens. I think a lot of them are probably Solana. They are going to tell us what they are at some point. But basically, yeah, 90% or 80% of your money is in cash.
Okay.
Which is just makes things easy for, this is the cash, 11.2 plus 1 It makes it easy for bankruptcy claim buyers to buy this. You're buying a tin of cash that is like, you're going to get it eventually. How much are you willing to pay for that? Any questions on FTX?
So they got back 70 what percent, and then they're
72.5.
Okay. If you haven't got it or you're having
You're
issues
get
with
it in 6 days.
6 days. Okay.
6 days filming. So
if you're
May 30th.
confused and lost and there's some issue and you'd rather just sell it, link below if you'd like to sell your claim.
And if you just want to ask me a question, you can DM me. I will answer whatever question you have. No strings attached.
Got it.
Absolutely. I don't know how I feel about buying Bitcoin at the ATH, but yeah.
You don't have the conviction of Michael Saylor. I think you need to work on that conviction, Louis.
I do.
You need more orange dots on a chart showing all your Bitcoin purchases. And you want to talk about some MicroStrategy?
You know what? What's annoying to me is that I've long been bullish on Bitcoin. And there's some people who have like not good intentions, who use Bitcoin to enrich themselves beyond what Bitcoin can already do for them, and who spew a bunch of absolute chicanery. How did he put it, Mashinsky?
Puffery.
Puffery. They're spewing puffery. And I've heard it. I've been around now for a decade plus in this. I've heard all of it before. And it's one of the reasons we have these crazy booms and busts. And I'm just tired of it. I don't think MicroStrategy is a good product.
Or any of the 10 different subsidiary.
No.
There's so much going on, you know?
Well, I mean, look, selling $1 for $2, which is basically what MicroStrategy does, is a great business if you can get into that business, obviously. So a lot of people are obviously trying to get into this. But like, if you don't understand what MicroStrategy is doing, a good reason for that is that they're trying to like obfuscate a scheme by putting in a lot of complex language and jargon to make you feel, you know, like, oh, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, and to my knowledge, I believe a lot of what they're doing is selling it to sophisticated investors that should understand what's going on.
I mean, they're mostly selling the stock. They're just printing stock to buy more Bitcoin. I don't fully understand how this is even possible, but look, people have made money from it. That's great. Not that I'm giving financial advice. I'm not. But like, if you are super in profit on MicroStrategy, like, there is no shame in just converting that to BTC and just let it ride.
Yeah. Yeah, there has been even a shift even in, you know, Michael Saylor's, what he's saying. You know, he was like self-custody, Bitcoin only, and now it's like, well, if you want to 10x your money, use other people's money to leverage that. And I'm like, what? Like, he really has flipped, I think, when he saw what was in front of him and what was capable of how much money his company could make, you know?
Doesn't it remind you of Mashinsky?
In what way does it remind you of Mashinsky?
Well, the puffery of it. And in general, like, the best investors in the world can communicate their ideas and what they're doing and their companies, their businesses in very simple terms. Like, the best entrepreneur probably of all time is Elon Musk. And like, you know, maybe you can accuse him of puffery also, but the product he's selling is dead simple. You know, it's not a financial engineering scheme. Like, hey, I have rockets and I can take stuff into space very cheaply. That right. Everybody can understand. Electric cars, robo-taxis, robots that'll do your laundry. Fucking awesome. Like, I get that. Like, buy into my money printing machine because I'm buying more Bitcoin. Like, it's just not.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, a lot of it does remind me of, you know, Mashinsky-like talk where it's like, a lot of it is like, any people that disagree is like, oh, you guys just don't get it. You don't get it. There was a lot of people, a lot of interviews, people talking to Mashinsky over the last 5, 6, 7 years being like, Mashinsky's like, no, you can earn yield on Bitcoin. It's totally safe. It's legit. And other people are like, no, you cannot earn yield on Bitcoin. There is risk. And, you know, anyway, so no, I get it. I just really hope this. I mean, I hope it doesn't nuke. I hope this is not Grayscale Bitcoin Trust.
It is the same principle. Only he's like monopolized it. He's the only one who can sell stock to buy more Bitcoin. But like, you know, before the heat death of the universe, it will trade at a discount to the Bitcoin in the pot. And then like how big that discount gets. And then it becomes a systemic risk for Bitcoin. Let's say, you know, we have a bear market and this thing trades at a 50% discount to NAV, which, like, by the way, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust at the bottom of the bear market was at more than a 50% discount to net asset value.
And at its peak, it was at
130. It was never as big as, we can even look it up. On their own website, they used to show it. I'm checking out if it's still on there. Yes. It is. That is amazing. They've removed pre-ETF days so that people forget. They've just set the all at starting 2024. Anyway, for those who weren't in the last cycle, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust used to trade at a premium to the Bitcoin that was in it, and so sophisticated investors, or people who just had the access, of which I was one, could buy Bitcoin, bring it to Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, and then 6 months later, they would give you the GBTC shares that you would dump on the market. And the way this took Celsius into it is that people started levering up their Bitcoin to bring more Bitcoin to GBTC, and then there was this 6-month lag period, and then they would dump it. But eventually, people were like 5-to-1 levered doing this. The thing was trading at a 25% discount. They were wiped out. That's how you get wiped out in these kind of things. You understand the math?
Yeah. I mean, you're taking leverage. Everything is, you know, lovely when it's trading at a premium, right? When you can capture that spread, essentially. But when the market turns, and
it always does.
It always does. You know, there are people saying this time is different. there's always those people. I wonder if there wasn't this MicroStrategy-like stuff going on, this financial engineering. One, if the price of Bitcoin would be as high as it is now, who knows? And two, if there wasn't that type of leverage happening, would there not be this systemic risk in the market? And maybe this time would be different if it was just companies just buying it spot and holding it on their balance sheet where they weren't taking, doing leverage stuff.
We can get into why I think companies should not be buying Bitcoin on their balance sheet. But first I want to do a hypothetical. My hypothetical is if Bitcoin falls to 40K and the NAV per share of MSTR falls the falls by half, as in for one share of MSTR, you're basically getting 2 Bitcoin. You see what I mean? There's a discount instead of a premium per share.
Right.
If that becomes a big discount, you could get an aggressive hedge fund that could just get a controlling stake in MicroStrategy and force the sale of all the Bitcoin. Once MicroStrategy owns 8 or 10% of all the Bitcoin, which they're going to get to eventually, that is a systemic failure for Bitcoin. That is not good. You do not want one wallet owning 10% of all the Bitcoin. Yeah,
I just saw an interview with Jack Mallers saying that, he wants to get 5% of the Bitcoin too. He's the new CEO of 21. So, how many of these companies are just going to get 5 to 8% of the Bitcoin? It's hard to see this working and not imploding at some point.
Yep.
And many would argue this is why Bitcoin was created, is to get away from financial shenanigans.
Exactly. And this is just a big financial shenanigan. I don't think companies should be buying Bitcoin. I think companies in general should have only one purpose and one purpose only: return as much money to shareholders as possible. And then shareholders can buy their own Bitcoin. You get into all this bullshit when companies are we have DEI views and we have all this other stuff we want to do. And I'm just let people do that on their own time and their own money, and you return as much money to them as possible. That's just, I don't know, my view of how I think people should be free to buy as much Bitcoin as they want and be free to invest their capital in good businesses that are doing what it says on the tin.
But what if a company has just $100 million of cash and they just buy spot Bitcoin and hold it because they think it's going to go up faster than cash? Would you be cool with that?
Not really. I think they should give that to the shareholders.
Got it. Yeah.
If I'm a shareholder of this company, if its market cap is $1 billion and they have 100 million cash that they don't need for their operating activities, then please send me that money. Imagine every company that's a listed company is not. Imagine that it's private. And if we own together this business, wouldn't we be hey, let's just take the money out so that we can do whatever we want? Let's say that, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist and you're a ETH maximalist, although I don't think that even exists. You want to buy ETH, I want to buy Bitcoin. Let's be free and be friends.
I think ETH maxis still exist. I think they're in the same camps as the Bitcoin wizards. Those guys?
Yeah, they exist somewhere on Twitter, if you doom scroll far enough, you'll get to those guys.
Yeah, you'll find a .eth or a wizard profile picture, and I think they're having something at Bitcoin 2025. Are you heading to Vegas or not this time?
No, I'm done with that shit.
You don't want to have a circle jerk around Bitcoin and Michael Saylor as your god? No,
I really don't. I reread the book about American Kingpin, about what's his name? The Silk Road guy, Ross. It's such an interesting book. I really recommend everybody read that. Great audiobook too.
What are your thoughts on that? Any takeaways?
I think the takeaway is that it's what a shame that this guy is such a creative person, so smart, made a bad mistake in doing what he did. I don't think he deserved all the consecutive life sentences, and I agree that after a decade in jail, that's enough. He did try to have people assassinated.
Him personally?
Yes. According to this book, right? He did basically order hits on people on his website.
Were these people that were trying to get him first?
No, so they were like people he was afraid were going to snitch. One was already snitching on him to the cops. One of
I
them
see.
was a like crooked cop to begin with. What's interesting about this book is that one, you can't believe this is a true story, and two, like you do get a good idea of the inner workings of law enforcement and how like a guy like that can corrupt law enforcement so easily. And he only got caught because he was sloppy. Like had he not been sloppy, there's no way they would have ever got him.
Interesting. Yeah, I got to read that. What's it called?
American Kingpin. Personally, by the end of the book, you're like, thank goodness that this guy's out of prison. Like you just can't help yourself but like him a lot. But he did try to have people killed, and he thought that those people had died. The people he like ordered the hits from didn't actually kill the people, but
was that part of his charges? Was that ordering like?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what he was charged with other than like running the Silk Road, having this marketplace.
Well, one of the guys he hired to do the hits was an FBI agent.
Oops. Was that how he got caught?
No. He got caught by, I think it was an IRS guy who was like, sleuthing through old blogs, and it was really in the early days of the Silk Road that he had just made a mistake in writing a comment somewhere that linked it to his personal email address. And they were like, we found this guy. And what was unfortunate for him is that they got him in a public library and they distracted him, and had he closed his laptop, it would have been like very hard to convict him.
Oh, wow.
But like they did like this whole operation to get the laptop open.
When it was open and unlocked.
Yes.
Oh, that's so interesting. I gotta check that out. So
you love it. I mean, it's great.
Yeah. Is it on like a streaming service? It's a documentary like on like Netflix or something?
No, it's a book.
Oh, it's an audiobook. That's right.
Yeah. There's an audiobook and so I've read both. I've read the book and I've listened to the audiobook, and I actually enjoyed the audiobook more.
Huh. Wow.
It's fine.
What do you think about Mashinsky getting 12 years?
It's a long ass time. I mean, he deserves it. Look, it's like feels unfair that Sam got twice as much, and I feel like Mashinsky was twice as bad as Sam. Like I never saw a video of Sam saying you need to get your grandma to put their money into FTX, and there are many videos of Mashinsky doing that.
Yeah. Every week targeting retail individual people that have never been in crypto before. Yeah, very different. I think his age was a factor as well. I think he's close to 60, 58, 59.
Yeah, he pled guilty too. I think had Sam pled guilty, he would have gotten way less time. I mean, that's just the game that you play. If you plead out, you get half the time or something.
Got it.
I don't know what the actual math on that is, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sam had pled guilty that he would have gotten less than 12. I'm actually, if I was in Sam's camp right now, I'd be very bullish on his appeal.
Is one coming? Or
yeah,
is one in the...
he's gonna appeal for sure.
Okay.
I think he still gets found guilty, but like I think his sentence is just way exaggerated. I mean,
yeah,
25 years, dude.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's overblown. I think they made a huge example out of him. I think he was an idiot with what he did, and going on the public Twitter tour after. I mean, disaster.
Yeah, I think for me, really, the mark of character in the end was that Sam never begged people to put money into FTX. He just didn't. He wasn't like that, and Mashinsky was constantly marketing his thing, being like, either I'm lying or the banks are lying. All this stuff. And Sam didn't do that. Right.
Yeah, Sam wasn't trying to get as many normal people as possible to put as much money as possible in FTX, right? Yeah. He did stupid stuff on the back end.
And FTX was like a reasonable business. I mean, very much mismanaged.
Yeah.
And if you understand how a crypto exchange works, you understand that it's like actually quite a risky product compared to a traditional brokerage. Like a traditional brokerage doesn't actually also do the exchanging. There's like different levels of risk that are like separated out in traditional finance that are not separated out in crypto, which adds a lot of risk. Essentially, when you put your money in a crypto exchange, depending on what product the crypto exchange offer, if a crypto exchange offers perpetual futures, you are lending them your money. Like, let's be clear. Like, there is a risk of socialized loss to everybody. And this happens all the time to smaller exchanges. You just don't hear about it. There is always a risk of loss when you put your money in a crypto exchange because they handle custody, settlement, trading. They handle everything in one place. You're just basically layering risk. And that is just usually not acceptable in traditional finance. If like Coinbase were to file for bankruptcy, like you are an unsecured creditor to Coinbase.
It would probably look the same as it was to people in FTX and Celsius.
I think that, the simplest way to describe it is if Coinbase, God forbid, were hacked for basically Solana and all its Solana was gone, your account with just BTC on it, it's not necessarily safe. If Coinbase files for bankruptcy,
I see.
Like that loss is socialized amongst all of the account holders. Obviously, Coinbase is a massive company, and they'd probably just make you whole because they're so rich. But that's how it would work. If it was like a devastating loss that like, hey, we have to gate withdrawals and file for Chapter 11, boom. That's what happened to FTX.
Hopefully that doesn't happen. Jeez. But yeah.
Jeez. I don't think so. What I have on my bingo card is like volatility, difficulty, and people just getting tired of this MSTR thing and it trading at a big discount, and then us having an issue with a like super aggressive hedge fund. They get control of MicroStrategy or whatever, or any of the other Bitcoin companies, and then just like dump all the Bitcoin.
So that's on your bingo card for maybe 2027?
Look, I was super bearish during the FTX bankruptcy on crypto prices, and I was super wrong. Like what I'd seen happening, I was like, okay, we have 5 big bankruptcies, all holding a bunch of crypto, all of them having to liquidate all those crypto, and it's just going to be a race for all these different bankruptcies to liquidate crypto, which it was. But the market was so strong, they didn't give a shit. You'd think FTX liquidating like billions of dollars of Solana and BTC and ETH would have like a dampening effect on momentum. It had no effect whatsoever.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Bitcoin dropped to 16, 15, whatever, but it could have been a lot worse. There must have been a lot of support and a lot of buying.
And look, nobody should ever take any trading advice from me. I dumped most of my long-held Bitcoin at 50K.
Yeah, don't listen to me either. Both of us are not financial advisors.
I bought a house, so like it was like, big money for me. And anyway.
You dumped Bitcoin at 50 to buy a house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mistake.
It's all good. You need a place to live.
Like that 100 or so BTC, it would have been
yeah, and I'm sure the house has gone up, 8%.
If anything at all.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gone up at all.
Yeah. Oh well.
No one should cry for me, I have a happy life, and I'm well off, and I have a dog, so whatever.
You got a dog. What kind of dog?
I have a Whippet.
A Whippet? Fans
of Tiffany Fong's channel will know the name of my dog.
Okay. If you know the name, comment below.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, this is good catching up. Great chat.
Sure. Solid.
Touched on a lot of things. So that's it for the video, guys. See you later.
See you guys later.